Greetings shippers, welcome back. It's time for another episode of Fanversations. Today we're going to be talking to Demona and I will have all of her links down below. We were supposed to be talking about the problematic fave, but it somehow transitioned into a fascinating discussion about translation, dubs, subs, and how things appear in other languages, and how that impacts how you interact with fandom. It's a fascinating convo, so if you're interested in hearing some non-North Amero-centric perspectives, stay tuned. As always, follow me on social media to stay up to date with what I'm working on. There are so many updates, and sometimes there's even sass. It's a good time, I promise. Hit subscribe if you're not already, and hit that bell notification so you never miss a vid, and actually get alerted to them. And now, let's get into it. Greetings shippers, it's Sasha here with...
I'm Sylvia, or you can call me Demona if you want, because that's my nick, whichever you prefer.
So you got in contact with me for a couple of reasons. So which one of the many things we talked about do you want to talk about today? If I recall, I think we were leaning towards the problematic fave.
Yes, because I love garbage. It's a thing.
What would you describe as a problematic fave?
The thing is, I feel like there's benign trash and then there's malign trash. There's like those people that like have killed half their family or something, and it's like, yeah, they're terrible, but I love them anyway. And then there's those other people that are just, I don't know, they drink too much or something like that, and they're like, I don't know what to do with my life kind of person, and I'm like, oh, you're terrible, I love you too. It's like, it depends. But the terrible psychotic ones, I'm like, yeah, you're great. Keep doing what you're doing.
So what is it that draws you to those type of characters?
I don't know. I've always been like this. I think it's because I like a big Final Fantasy fan, and in Final Fantasy a lot of the villains are very pretty and like very evil, but very pretty. And it's like, I know you killed like a whole building full of people, but I don't care. You have pretty hair and mommy issues.
So is it more of an aesthetic thing for you, or a narrative thing, or a combination of both drawn in by the aesthetic?
Both. It's like, first of like, even most of the time, because I like a lot of anime and manga and like that, a lot of villains are very pretty in general. They're like, hello, I am very pretty or very attractive, and I am terrible and killed like 500,000 people, but here I am. And it's like, damn it. I mean, back in the day, we all loved Vegeta and he was terrible. Like, we know. It was one of the first, probably, because DBC was one of those things I watched when I was a kid, and every time I'm like, with the villains, I'm like, yeah, kick his ass, you're not gonna do it, but I believe in you. Every time.
So who would you say are some of your more trashy, as they call it, obsessions currently?
I have a lot. One of the worst ones I think is Isaiah from Durarara. And like he's the trash king of my heart. Like I love him. I know he's the worst, but I don't know. It's like he's literally terrible in every way. Like when they started the anime back again, when Isaiah showed up, I was like, Isaiah, it's you. You look very weird in this new animation, but I don't care. That was a weird change of animation then.
It was pretty, yeah, it was pretty intense. Like, it took me a minute to reorient. I was like, oh, so everybody looks like this now, okay.
Like, it looked weird for a while, and then it turned back again to normal, and I was like, okay, well, that was random.
So what's it like navigating fandom when you have these favorite characters that some people would consider to be problematic? Because some people view problematic as like a kind of, like, and other people are more upset about it. So how has it been navigating fandom for you?
I mean, I usually am like, just leave me alone. Like, I know they're garbage. Please let me leave. It's like, I know. It's like when the authors do it, it's even worse. Like, when Joker rolling with Draco Malfoy or Cassandra Clare sometimes with one of my faves there. It's like every time he comes up, she's like, oh, he's terrible and I'm completely unredeemable. And I'm like, yeah, no. And I'm gonna stop loving him, I'm sorry. Then there's authors like, from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the author Araki, there's this character named Kira, who is a serial killer, because with what that name, what else are you gonna be? and there was this interview where he said, well, he's a serial killer, but he tries his hardest at being one, so I appreciate him. And I'm like, you get it. He's like, he gets it. That's the attitude. It's weird because with that one, no one cares. It's like, yeah, he's a serial killer, but everyone loves him anyway. It's like, okay, we're okay with this one. Okay.
Do you find that certain fandoms are harsher on it than others?
I think so, yeah. I mean, the one that's most recent in mind now is the Star Wars one with Kylo Ren and Hux and all of that. It's like, oh my god, like that just a whole thing. It's like, can't you just let people enjoy things? They are like, no, there's people are very intense around there, and I feel and I know it's a Star Wars. Everyone has always been intense.
Yeah. Do you find that there's a difference in how people approach things based on where they're coming from? Like when you're on a forum or stuff, can you tell when someone's from, say, like America or the UK or Spain? Like, can you tell based on talking to them, or?
Sometimes I can tell between Spain and Latin America just because of the dialect difference if it's in the Spanish. But, you know, and the whole dub word thing between Spain and Latin Spanish is like a thing. So basically, in Spain, it's like the British and American English, okay? Spain has a kind of Spanish, and Latin America has a different one with different accent, and it's like very different. And it's like we hate each other so much on the dubs. It's every single time, and it's so weird because. Okay, so in Spain, for some reason, I don't know why, but the Disney movies, the animated ones, up till Beauty and the Beast, all of them were just in Latin Spanish, for some reason. It made no sense, because the live-action ones were in normal Spanish, but the ones that are just, cartoons, they are in Latin Spanish. It's like, this is a weird distinction, but okay. When you're a kid, you don't question it. It's like, that's how they talk in Disney movies. That's a thing. But then from Beauty and the Beast onwards, they are in normal Spanish now. So, like, if you go to videos or something from the songs from the old movies, usually there's like, oh, this is very nostalgic in this dub because that's how they were when I was a kid. But if you go to the newer ones, when there's the dub in Spanish, and the Latin Spanish, it's like there's a war. Or the Latin ones are like, this dub is terrible. And the Spanish ones are like, leave us alone with our thing. And it happens with everything, every single thing. It happens a lot with anime too, like the anime dubs. There's a lot of battle in that too. Like, I remember I had a friend that used to like the Latin dub for Sakura Card Captor instead of the Spanish one, because she said that the Spanish voice of Sakura was very high and she didn't like it. And I'm like, but the voice of Saurantho is so perfect for the voice. It's weird.
We have an interesting thing that happens in Canada in that because we have Quebec, which is our French province, but the dialect of French that they speak is different than Parisian French. So they speak a dialect called Joual, and we are taught Parisian French in school. So it's very interesting because then we have to encounter Quebec, and like they have their own like television channel, radio, everything, and then you encounter it, and all of a sudden you're like, but that's not the French that I learned. And I think it must be frustrating because I don't think I've ever heard a dub done in Joual. I think they always do it in Parisian French, and Joual it's a bit difficult because it's French, but they have a lot of abbreviations. So instead of saying like je veux or something like that, they'll do like J apostrophe V apostrophe. So there are all these like really intense like.
It's like the American version of French.
Very intense like consonant abbreviations, and it's a bit difficult to navigate. Like you get used to it, but.
In Spain, there's two provinces in Spain. There's more, but principally there's the Basque Country and Catalonia, which is pretty in the news lately, and they have their own languages, and they have like their own TV channel with that language, and there's a lot of, they used to play a lot of anime in there because, you know, they were like, oh, well, this is so kids get used to this language. We'll put a lot of cartoons, and they put a lot of anime. And now there's a bunch of nerds in both of them. It's like, that's why the Barcelona is the biggest salon, and there's like there's a lot of otaku in Barcelona and in that place because of that. And there's like, with the Catalan dubs, people are get very intense too. Like they used to have their own, like, there's like even a bunch of anime that are just edited in that language. There's like a manga that was from, I don't know who it was from, but the thing is, it's a manga that was an anime that got very popular in that, you know, in that form. And I think the manga has only been edited in that language.
That's interesting.
It's not even, they didn't put it in Spanish, they didn't put it in Japanese again, they didn't like re-edit it in Japanese, it's just in that one. It's like, oh, that's, they're very, very intense about it. And there was like both dual editions. There was like Inuyasha used to have a manga edition that was in Spanish, and then another one in Catalan. And Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was like, there's like 1,000 editions of Dragon Ball because it's Dragon Ball. And there's in Spanish and there's in Catalan, there's like special editions in one and the other. It's crazy.
No, we can't complain too much because most things do end up getting translated into English. Like, it's just how it is. But then there is like the rare thing that doesn't. And you're just sitting there like, but why though? I remember that with Baccano, I really wanted to read the light novel. I was like, this is amazing. And I heard that there were like more chapters and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to go find, nope, only in Japanese. And I was like, and also I couldn't even find it like to get.
Now it's in English if you wanted it, if you didn't know.
Oh, the light novel itself?
Yes, they are in English, and they started editing it a couple of years ago.
What?
Yeah. You can find it quite easily. It's in English now, and they're like, I don't know, like 5 volumes in or something. They're still editing it. They haven't caught up yet.
Okay.
And the Durara one, it's also in English if you want. The Bacano was even on hardcover, which is like, I want that. I want that so bad.
I have never seen it in any of our bookstores here, ever. I'm always looking, and I'm always on the lookout. It's never here, and I'm sad.
If you go to Book Depository, which is a very good bookstore, they have it. It's pretty cheap. It's like $13. Yeah, Book Depository is an online store that sells books and, you know, a bit of manga and stuff. I bought all of these books that you see in English. I have bought them there. Because there's books that I have like a hate-love relationship with Spanish editorials. I'm like, please bring me this book, and they're like, nah, or they're like, we're gonna bring it, but we're gonna bring it only in softcover and badly translated. And I'm like, I'm just gonna buy it in English. It's gonna be cheaper anyway because dollar and euros are like different. So it's like, it's cheaper in hardcover. It's cheaper to buy it in English in hardcover than it is to buy it in Spanish in softcover. And I'm like, it then.
Well, I'm happy to know it's being translated. That's been one of the banes of my existence. Like, I haven't looked because it upsets me so much, so I'm really glad to know that it's there.
I'll send you a link later on Skype if you want.
Do you ever have that happen, though? Like, where you're looking for something and it just bothers you so much you can't find that you're just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not going to look anymore.
Yeah. But I have a lot of books that are like, what annoys me the most with the Spanish editors is sometimes they don't tell you if they're gonna bring a thing or not. So I like the Shadowhunters books, like the Cassandra Clare ones.
Yeah.
And there's so a couple of years ago, she made like a little short story collection that was, and then they published it in book form. And after like I was like, well, I'll wait till they translate it, and then I'll buy it. But like a full year passed, or 2 years, and they hadn't translated, so I was like, well, I'm gonna buy it in English then. So I bought it, and then like another year later they translated it. I was like, damn it, and I had to buy it twice. And now they are doing it again because there's another short story collection that's in English, and it's been out for like a year, and it's not in Spanish, and I don't know if I could, like, I'm like, do I buy it in English? What do I do? So So like I want to read it. I want to have it in my hands, but I don't know if it's gonna be in Spanish. And if it's gonna be in Spanish, I want to wait so they all match. But,
oh, that's a thing with me too. Like things need to match with me. Like I like if something is coming in an edition, I like them to be the same size and either like all hardbound or all softbound. It drives me insane when I have a series of something and one is just a vastly different shape and size than all the rest of them, and I'm like, I can't. Oh, I can't look at it.
Like here I have, these are the Sarah J. Maas books, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is Spanish, and it's here, and it looks terrible because it's soft cover and it's small, and the rest are big, and that one fell off, but it doesn't matter. So this is the Spanish one, which is soft cover and very small, and here's how they look in English.
Yeah.
They all match, and they have illustrations, and they're very big and hardcover and very nice. And it's like, I gotta deal with this because I want to buy the first one just to have it all match eventually. But
I do that too. I collect a comic series called Astro City, and I've got them all, and they have this part that's called like the Dark Years. But they never released, not recently in the re-release, the one in softcover, and all of mine just happen to be softcover. So I have this one giant hardbound book just sitting there, and every time I look at it on the shelf with the rest of them, I'm just like,
The rage of something not matching.
The other thing that happens to me, I don't know if this happens to you, but I love to collect volumes of everything, as many as I can together, especially if something's done. I like to have the complete series.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is they'll wait like a period of years sometimes, and then they'll release it all as an omnibus. And so sometimes I'll be in that position where I'll have like volumes 1, 2, 5, and 6, and then they'll release an omnibus. I'm just sitting there missing volumes 3 and 4, and I'm like, I gotta pay full price because I don't have volumes 3 and 4. It's so upsetting. And then also you don't have anybody to give it to, because who can you give volumes 1, 2, 5, and 6 to?
And when you like buy all the series and then they do a re-release that's like better, and it's like, damn it. Like I have this problem with so the anime of Haikyuu, okay?
Mm-hmm.
They released it here in Blu-ray in like these special editions, and they released like half the first season, then the other half of the first season, and then they did the same with the second one and then the third one. But I only found like the second part of the first season, so I have like the second part of the first season and then the second season, and now they're releasing a pack of the full first season, and I'm like, what do I do now? Do I buy half the first season so it all matches, or do I buy the first season as a full thing?
No, the struggle is real.
And it also annoys me because the half seasons, they have a color scheme of white, and the full first season is black. So I'm like, black or white? It kind of matches, but also not. Do I do this one or the other?
I have such a hard time buying anime because the import prices are so intense, and you're paying like $60 for 13 episodes, and I'm like, that's so expensive.
Anime is getting a lot better to buy here in Spain, but because there was a time like nothing appeared. It was like the dark years, nothing gets released, we just have manga. We are very good with manga, but anime was like nothing. It was like, you have all the old ones that they released years ago, and that's it. And Dragon Ball, because there's always Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is a constant. And then one year, Selectavision, which is like the editorial that does all the anime Blu-rays and DVDs, suddenly came back from the grave and was like, here, have Attack on Titan, have Tokyo Ghoul, have Noragami, have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, have Haikyuu, and have Slayers, which I was like, I'm still not over it. Like, I have it in my hands, I have it there, and I still don't believe it's real. Like, I've was since back in the 90s when I watched Slayers, which was, back in TV back in the day, and I loved it, and I had to endure with having the just like the DVD quality back with the VHS UBC's audio for Spanish,
Yes.
for the Spanish stuff, because fans are like that, are crazy and do that kind of thing. And I was like, I have to deal with this being the best version of this there's going to be, because they're never gonna put it in Blu-rays. And then one year, Selectavision was like, hey, we're releasing the full thing in Blu-ray with the original dub and with extras. And I was like, am I dead? Is this the real life?
We're still so bad. Our anime sections in like main stores are so small. Like we still got one little dinky shelf, and they actually pad it out with Warner Brothers DC releases. Like you'll be like flipping through your anime and they'll be like, Batman. What is Batman doing?
Is it an anime? Is it the Batman Ninja one? That's good anime.
And like we have this thing where like lots of what we release is older stuff from the 90s. Like we're huge on re-releasing like Dragon Ball Z, yeah, Pokemon, Sailor Moon, all of that stuff. But the newer stuff, I was gonna get my brother Attack on Titan, and not only had they broken the first season up into 2 parts, but they were $60 each. And I was like, I'm not spending $120 on this. This is madness.
Attack on Titan, when they started releasing it here, they did the thing like they used to do, like, here's 5 episodes in one Blu-ray, and I was like, well, I guess this is how things were done. So I started buying them, and then they did like the 13 episodes in one, and I was like, well, I'm gonna wait. And now I have like three Blu-rays, and then there's a pack with the second part. And it's like, well, and I have like the 4th Blu-ray because it had Levi on the cover, so I was like, I gotta buy it, it's him on the cover. The power of the favorite. It was pretty cheap at the end because they had released the thing, so it wasn't that big a deal, but you know.
Mm-hmm. No, it's just the fact of like repurchasing things, like especially when you're on a budget, then you're just kicking yourself because you're like, you know, I just needed to be patient. All I needed to do was be patient.
It's like, wait.
It's hard though. Like I too have that fear that things are just going to vanish. Like I never got over how Disney did stuff when I was a kid, like Kim Possible and stuff, and how it just vanished. And to this day, I still cannot get
the fear of the vault.
Yeah, I cannot get a decent. And, like, sometimes there are, like, weird, obscure Canadian shows that I know happened, but they're, like, a dream. And I have to, like, tell people, like, do you remember that show where this happened? Because you'll never find it anywhere.
Yeah. Did that happen, or was it my imagination?
Like, did I imagine a whole kids show that I watched every week, like Channel Zero? Like, is that what's happening right here?
Am I in a creepypasta?
Yeah. It would be a pretty boring creepypasta. I swear it was like a show where there were these kids and they had to be sucked into their computers to fight crime on the net. I swear it was real that it happened.
Yeah, there's shows that are like, I remember vaguely, like I remember watching an episode or something on TV and then I'm like, did that happen? Did I imagine that? Was that a thing? I don't know. A lot of things happen. But yeah, with anime we're getting much better now, but it used to be nothing. And now we're getting so many things. Like we're getting Yu Yu Hakusho now, a release of the whole thing. And with the classic series, what they're doing is putting the 26 episodes into one thing, and it's like 60. So it's like, yeah, perfect. You got it. Because with the newest, they're always doing the 13 episodes for $60, and it's like, well, 60 euros, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
And it's like, but why so much money for this?
Yeah. It's hard to justify. It's really hard to justify it. Like especially when there's so many other things you're interested in, that it's hard to like take that plunge.
For Blu-rays and stuff, I always wait till there's like a 2-for-1 kind of thing or into Black Friday, because in Black Friday here they always put the thing on half. So it's like 30 euros for the whole thing. I'm like, that's a good price for this. So I take a bunch of anime that day. It's like all the anime I can find. That's it, everything. So the thing is here they are doing like special editions. They do like first a special collector's edition of Blu-rays of anime. And once they're done, they're done. So I'm like, please don't run out till it's under offer, please. I live with fear they will run out.
You have to like go to the store and like hide it in a different section, you know? I
used to do that. I was like, no one will find it.
So when it comes to like releasing shows on air that are currently airing, like are you guys behind? Like I've talked to a couple people in Australia and other places where
Yeah.
they're like a couple of seasons behind and stuff like that. So
Yeah, here it's a lot of shows. It's just like there's like a different quality of shows that sometimes they have a whole season like immediately. Like Game of Thrones is the quickest one. It's like, oh, Game of Thrones has already. It's like, oh, the season just ended. What do you mean it's already a pack? It's like instant. And then there's so many shows that I haven't seen a DVD or Blu-ray or anything of. Like the biggest one that's super weird is Doctor Who because Doctor Who is super big,
yeah.
but here it's not in Spain. It's just not here. It's just not really. They released the first like three new seasons of the new show in DVD back in the day, but they are completely run out of them, and they haven't released any. And it's still running. Like I know it's still being
Yeah.
translated to Spanish. Like why is it not released? It's so weird. I don't mind because I bought like the Blu-ray pack from the British Amazon because it works. The Blu-rays from England work in Spain, in all of Europe. So I don't mind because now I just watch it in English anyway because it's a British show and I like it in English.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's so weird because it's such a big show and Supernatural it's in Blu-ray also very fast, but not Doctor Who. It's so strange. Sherlock also is, but I don't know. Like I'm done with that. I bought the 3 season pack and that Christmas special, whatever it was, when
Yeah.
they were in Victorian times,
Yes.
and I'm like, that's it. The next season doesn't exist. What fourth season? That didn't happen. I live in denial. It's like,
So in Spain, are more things dubbed or subbed?
mm, most of things are dubbed, like movies and stuff are always dubbed on the TV shows too. But most people nowadays, like people that are really into this kind of thing, watch it sub.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Also in anime and stuff, usually you watch the subs now. But if it's like an anti-show, usually you watch the dub because nostalgia.
Yeah.
And also the dubs were very good. Like in that late 90s, early 2000s, the Spanish dubs of anime were like top notch, were like beautiful. Everything was perfect. And then it's like the real hey, everyone is watching the dub now.
We don't
The
need to
subtitles
try.
now.
Yeah.
They don't need to try. It's like they put it there, but I don't think anyone watches it like that. So it's always like 4 dub actors anyway.
Yeah, like same here. Like there's a rotating cast of dub actors who do like everything. I do kind of miss them. I really feel that debate of sub versus dub is so unnecessary, and people like to act like there's no reason to ever watch a dub, and I'm like, there are so many reasons. Like after I had my daughter, I essentially had to stop watching anime for a while because you can't sit there and read subtitles on a screen when you're trying to take care of a baby.
When you watch something with subtitles, you like have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
because you have to read and actually like catch all of it. But if you just want to watch it like or it's something you already watch or something, you can watch it dub. It's much easier.
Exactly. I think because I made a video talking about like just anime and like how I didn't think it really mattered too much and that there are valid reasons to like both. I think the saltiest comment I got was like, oh well, where I'm from, only children watch dubs. I was like, whoa.
Oh, watch out, we got a badass over here.
I know. I was like, oh. I can't live in the shade.
But seriously, in Spain, there's like in anime there seems to be like seriously like 5 dub actors, and I remember the biggest thing was like Slayers. Like I told you, I used to watch that. That's like a full like 80 something episode. Like there's 3 seasons with 26 episodes each. Okay, that full thing was dubbed with just 5 people. Literally 5 people did the entire thing, and once you realize that you can't unsee it, it's like once you realize, wait a second, that's the same guy. It's like, oh no. Every time it's like, oh, that's that one guy. There's like 3 guys and 2 girls, and you notice instantly. It's like, oh. Because when I was a kid, I didn't notice I was kinda dumb, so I was like, oh, that's. But now when you know 5 people did the entire thing, it's like every voice is like, that's that. But it's funny when when dub actors create connection between characters.
Yeah.
Like the dub actor in Spanish for L from Death Note, I'm pretty sure it was the same dub actor that did Kyo from Fruits Basket, and it was like, this is so. And the one that did Inuyasha, it was the same guy too, because like these characters are so different, and yet they're both the same guy.
It's funny, like sometimes when you watch an anime in a certain language first, you get used to that like voice, and then when you hear it in like the actual language that it's in, it can be weird. Like I got used to it. Like even once I don't feel a match, I get used to. Like Howl's Moving Castle, I really think that in English, the English dub, Christian Bale is a very odd choice for that character design, but I'm used to it now. So when I hear the Japanese dub, I'm like, where's Batman though?
The Batman voice.
Yeah, where's Batman? Where is he?
Have you seen like those manipulation when they did like with images of Batman, but he's saying like there's no use in living without being beautiful. And it's like, yes.
I love those so much. They make me laugh so hard every time.
I love it. It happens a lot in Spanish too, like where or in other languages, like there's for example like sometimes like you prefer the voice that of the dub and then you hear the original and it's like nah.
Yeah.
With Tales of Symphonia, there's this character named Kratos, okay? In his English voice is like super cool. He's like, this kind of cool, nice character. Well, not nice, but a very cool old kind of character, old cool guy. And he has like a very nice voice in English. And I was like, I grew up playing the game and I was used to his dub voice. In English, and so then I watched the anime because they had like some animated OVAs and stuff, and they were nice. They were like just kind of extra. But when I heard his Japanese voice, I was like, no, like that's not your voice. I'm sorry, no. It was like he sounded so weird in Japanese, and everyone else sounded fine, but his voice was like so not what I was used to, and I was like, no, your voice is the English one for me. I'm sorry.
No, it happens. Like there are certain voices that just stick with you. I don't know if it has to do with when you hear them or just sometimes they just match your expectations of what you've always kind of imagined. Like for me, whenever I read a comic, I always hear Mark Hamill's voice from the Batman animated series, and I always will. Like that's just for me, that's just his voice, and it always will be.
It just happens. It's just the one.
Yeah.
You know what's even more annoying is was they changed voice actor in Mything or something.
Yes.
Like the card captor Sakura. Okay, in the Spanish dub, the series had a certain voice cast, and then they had like 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So the movies that were also dubbed, and they had all the same voice actors, except for Sauron. For some reason. And it's like, he's the only one that changed voices, and the voice in the movies doesn't fit at all. The voice in the series was perfect, and, after hearing it for, 60 episodes, you're like, I love you and your beautiful voice. Mm-hmm. And then in the movies, he's a completely different actor, and it's like, but why, though? Why?
I was watching Erased, and that happened mid-series. All of a sudden, I was listening, and I was like, wait, that's a different guy. Like, that's not the same. I felt like I was crazy. I was like, did I hear him differently? But then I checked, and I was like, no, that's a different guy. They changed him, 3 or 4 episodes in. What happened? I need to know. No, that's happened in a couple of series I've watched where, I don't know, the person doesn't want to come back, they can't, conflict or something, and so all of a sudden you need to adapt to a new voice mid-thing, and you always have those first few episodes to compare of, they didn't used to sound like that.
This usually happens, in another season or whatever, they suddenly change the actor for one person, it's like, what, but they keep the rest, and it's like,
For dubs over in Spain, do they use celebrities a lot? Because they've started to use celebrities over here, and it drives me insane. Because people think that just because you can act, you can voice act, and that's not true.
Yeah, that's the worst. they do it with children's movies sometimes. Like they bring like some Spanish celebrity that I don't know because I don't care, and it's like, why would you do this? But if it's in anime and stuff, because I guess because it's so niche,
Yeah.
like it's kind of weird. There are like 5 people, and they always do the same people do the thing. That doesn't happen. But when it's like with big movies, sometimes I do it, and it's like, why would you do this? You know what's even weirder?
What?
In Spanish, there's like some actors that have like specific voice actors that play them. Like Johnny Depp and Leonardo DiCaprio have like their own dub actor.
Yeah,
because
I heard
they are
about
like
that.
yeah, they're like such big people that they have their own dub actor. But there's like some movies like from before they were like super big or something where they don't have the same dub actor, and it's like, that's not you. Like, I see it's you, but I don't hear it's you. And it's like, weird. Or sometimes I remember I watched like this random movie. It was like a weird western. I think it was a Clint Eastwood movie. There was this guy that showed up, and he had the same dub actor from Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was like, Leonardo DiCaprio? Like, it wasn't Leo. I could see it wasn't, but I heard it was.
Yeah, like accuse you that, wait, Leo should be here.
They have like those are the ones I recognize instantly because I heard them a lot, and they're like very consistent because they're the same actor, and he's like such a big actor. They every time he appears they use the same dub actor. But then there's others when they don't have it, or they have different voices for different things, and it's like, this is so weird.
Yeah, because they sound different every time.
And there used to be this Spanish dub actor that was very famous. His name was Constantino Romero, okay? And he was like the James Earl Jones of Spain, for you to get the idea. Like, he played Mufasa and he played Darth Vader. that kind of voice. And he also played Frollo from Hunchback of Notre Dame. And he played the Terminator. Specifically, just the Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger in other movies had other dub actor, but in Terminator it was him. It's like, he had like very imposing voice, you know? So it was like very, okay. He died a couple of years ago. It was so sad. They were like, no, now who's going to dub Darth Vader when he appears in things? Like, I'm glad that Jason Jones does it usually in like Star Wars Rebels and other things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to watch that in English only, because if I watch it in Spanish and it's another dub actor, I'm going to be like, no.
You're gonna be sad. You're gonna miss him. Like, yeah.
Yeah, in Rogue One, when Darth Vader appeared, it was another person doing the voice, and I was like, you're so close, but no. So close.
There are some people who, like, there are a couple of voice actors over here who have died, and they get impersonators to try and get it close. It's always just like almost, and you can't quite. In situations like that, I almost wish that they would just use a completely different voice, because I'm like, you're not going to get it. Like, their voice was so unique. You're not going to get it. You might as well try and do a new thing at this point.
Yeah, who was the voice actor from Avatar: The Last Airbender that died?
Yeah, that's who I was thinking of.
Mako, yeah, because they named the other guy after him. That he, like, they left a space at least. They left some episodes in which Iroh didn't talk, and then they changed the actor, so it was a bit. At least it was less noticeable, you know. It
was real noticeable. I found it in Samurai Jack, like the latest season, like with Aku. I was like, You're trying. It's a valiant effort. It was a really good effort, but it wasn't quite there. And it just made me miss him. And I was just like, oh, I miss him a lot.
It's hard when you get attached to a voice actor.
It is, especially right now with DC over here. Pretty much every movie, and even before she retired, every movie has like different voice actors almost. So like almost every movie you're getting a different Batman, a different Superman, and you're just like, stop.
But you had the perfect cast already from the animated series. Why?
And sometimes they use them, and sometimes they don't, and it's just like, come on, I don't know why you're doing this.
I mean, Mark Hamill would jump at the chance to play the Joker, it seems. Just let him.
There's a mystery that I've been trying to solve forever, and I want to know why Arlene Sorkin, who played Harley Quinn in the original 90s animated series, I want to know why she stopped voicing Harley, because one day she just stopped, and then like Tara Strong took over, and now other people have done it since, and I'm like, what happened? I really want to know, because to me, nobody has that perfect balance of obnoxious but still listenable that she had. She just had like this perfect, like kind of almost grating but still really likable voice that I was just like, I need that voice again.
Yeah, the Spanish dub from that Batman the Animated Series was like super good too. And they tend to use the same actors also when they do like the Arcane games and stuff. I'm pretty sure a lot of the actors are from the animated series because I was so used to the animated series performance or something. And I was like, hey, I think that's you, I think. So, like the guy that plays the Joker in Spanish, he does it very well too, and he's got like a super distinctive voice, and I think it's the same guy. I'm pretty sure. Now it's been a while since I played those games, so I don't know, but I can hear the animated voice series in my head. If that makes sense.
No,
It's
I
like,
know exactly what you mean. Like you can just pick it up. Like you don't even really need to think that hard. You know what they sound like. It's just I love voice acting. I think voice acting is so fantastic and such an underrated skill that people just don't really appreciate. And sometimes I'll be watching something that's got really bad voice acting in it, and somebody will be like, "Isn't it good?" And I'll be like, "No, it's terrible."
yeah. But voice acting is best when there's like I like when they do like a bridge kind of stuff too. You know, like the purposely bad voice acting is like
It's
hilarious.
funny. Yeah.
Like what was it? Like I've only seen clips of it. Was that anime Ghost Stories or something? Like the official dub is like an abridged series. It's like what the hell? Like I've only seen clips on YouTube, but I'm like, what is happening?
Oh, I needed more Ghost Story in my life. When my husband and I finished it, we were like, "That's it. We need more."
It's great when you watch something that's purposely bad. It's like, yeah.
The thing is that it's hard to strike the right balance. I find that especially in film, like when people get too tongue in cheek and they lose the actually taking it seriously, a lot of times it doesn't work because you need to marry knowing that it's not great with actually trying. Like if you stop trying, then it just ends up being a mess. Like part of what makes The Room like such an amazing masterpiece is that he's
They were
trying.
trying so hard.
Yeah, like there's so much effort
They
and
were staring
passion.
in a farm, Lisa.
Like there's so much effort in it.
He's acting so hard.
Yeah, it's like those old Ed Wood films. Like they're not trying to be bad; they're trying to be good, and that's part of what makes it work and why it's so endearing to watch it.
The movie of Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie of Ed Wood, that's a perfect use of that bad acting.
It is.
It's like, we don't have a permission to film here. Right away! Like, they have... Johnny Depp in that movie is beautiful, just that acting.
My favorite, it has my favorite scene, I think, in movies ever, which is the Bela Lugosi wrestling the octopus in the swamp. I'm just like, yes.
That is scene where he was pissed off at Boris Karloff.
There's a fun to watching bad things. Like not everybody gets it, and sometimes they get mad at it because of that. But I think it's just as fun. For me, the cardinal sin of anything is to be boring. Like
yeah, sadly.
Yeah.
Like I can watch a lot of things that are campy fun. Like camp fun is the best. It's like they like when they know this is very simple and stupid, but we're gonna have fun with it. It's like yeah, I mean this right. I'm gonna enjoy it.
And sometimes you don't want something that takes itself too seriously because like just like you can go too far with not taking it seriously enough, like sometimes productions are just taking themselves so seriously that you just
Look at the DC universe and the movies. That's an example.
The DC universe is okay. It's trying too hard to differentiate itself from the Marvel universe.
It's like you try too hard, man.
That's the thing. It's trying really hard, and it doesn't need to try that hard. It doesn't, because I don't know, but it is building its own universe. Like, say what you like about it, it definitely has its own aesthetic and feel. Like, you know when something is in the DC universe, and I will always go because I love DC, and it's fascinating to see that they're still going in that direction, and there are parts of it that I really like. So I have such a love-hate relationship with the DC universe in films. In DC, it's all love.
But like, I just watched the first my only thing with Superman, besides a bit of Smallville when I was a kid and all that, is that I watched the first two Superman movies, like the original ones.
Oh yeah,
And I
Christopher
was
Reeve,
like,
yeah.
yeah, Christopher Reeve ones. And it's like they knew this was a bit ridiculous, but they ran with it. That's perfect. Like the whole kneel before General Zod thing. I was like, this is beautiful.
It's like they know that it's a comic. They know it's a comic, and they're letting it be a comic. And even Marvel does this too, in that there's almost this sense that they want to elevate it. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but I don't really feel you need to elevate it, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like when I hear the
That's
term
why Thor
elevate,
Ragnarok was much more fun than the latest movies. Like Thor Ragnarok was like, you know what, we're gonna have a fun space adventure.
yeah. And it was great. It was really enjoyable.
I always like the Marvel movies. Like even their bad ones, they are like at least they are decent watch. You know, you are entertained while you watch it, even if they are not the best.
I don't know.
Like,
There are a couple for me that I will never watch again. Like, okay, that's not true. But there are a couple that I will not enjoy when I watch them again.
yeah,
Let's put it that way.
there's a couple that are like just there, but not. But you know, when they're good, they're really good. So it's like, yeah, whatever.
No, it's like when they're good, they're really good. But when they're bad, no one talks about it. Which, like,
Yeah.
I don't get. Like, I was actually gonna rewatch Doctor Strange the other day, and then I realized I didn't really
Yeah.
care. And I was like,
Yeah, that's one of the ones that is like just okay. I will do it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to rewatch Doctor Strange unless I'm like, I don't know, I want to see Benedict Cumberbatch's face.
but there's so many other things you can see Benedict Cumberbatch's face.
Yeah.
Also, his accent in that movie isn't that great. It's not the greatest.
Well,
American
that's one of the things that the Spanish dubs have. Like, you don't have to deal with weird American English kind of accents things.
Oh yeah, the struggle of like hearing a British or any other actor really struggle to get the accent. No, Brad Pitt.
I don't know. Like sometimes when I mean, most of mainstream movies I just watch it in Spanish.
Yeah.
That because it's like, you know, it's easier. But sometimes I watch them like I watch a movie that has one of those things like, oh, that terrible fake accent, whatever, or that terrible whatever voice action or something, and I'm like, but the Spanish dub didn't have that problem. Like it happens a lot sometimes. Like there's like some person that underacted or overacted or whatever, and the Spanish have like corrected it, and it's like, oh, that's so like I see a movie and it seems perfectly fine, and then I see like some review or whatever, and they're like, oh, this person was terrible, and I'm like, really? Oh, okay. The original, okay.
You see, that's what I find fascinating, and you emailed about that too, where it's like there are these cultural differences that people don't realize, and sometimes they write a review as if it's universal, but like you just mentioned, it's not, because like you're not even getting the same performance, you know, because you have the dub, and so there'll be these complaints and stuff that just aren't really valid if you're watching it in a different context.
It's when they change like some line that becomes like a meme or something. Like in English, a line becomes a meme or like a very iconic underline, and in Spanish it wasn't even there, and it's like, and then I realized, oh, that was the line. Okay.
Has that, like, what does that happen for? Like, can you think of anything that's
like
happened for?
I remember the one that jumps the most is in Star Wars, because in the New Hope, okay? You know when he says, I got a bad feeling about this when they're going to the Death Star and stuff, he said something different in Spanish. Like he said, oh, I don't remember exactly, but he didn't say the line, I got a bad feeling about this. And then in the next movie, when they did that, I got a bad feeling about this, they did translate it as, I got a bad feeling about this. And the rest was okay, but like in the first movie, he doesn't say it in the point, and it's like so weird, because I'm like, because now I know that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but that's not what you said. It's like, weird.
That happens to me a lot when I watch things in French, but I'll have my English subtitles on. Just like I just like subtitles, so I always have them on. I'm that person who constantly has subtitles on because I enjoy them. And then you can watch things really quiet and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Or like if you miss something, it's like,
You
okay.
can just look. But I've been watching Miraculous Ladybug, and it always makes me laugh so hard because they like they're talking in French and the villain is the papillon and they're like oh the papillon, I'm like butterfly, and then in
But
English they're all
again,
like hawk moth and I'm like no butterfly. They do that all the time with it though. Like they also change slang, but that I get because some slangs just don't translate well if you try and translate them and they end up coming across very strange. But it is funny when you're just listening, you're like, that's not what they said. They didn't say that.
and there's like in Spain, like in the 90s dub of anime, they used to change names a lot. Now they don't do it, but they used to do it. And in Sailor Moon, it's super weird. Okay, in Sailor Moon, the main protagonist, her name is Bunny, so it's like, well, her name in Japanese is Usagi, which means bunny.
Yeah.
So they left it as Bunny because the whole Bunny in the Moon kind of thing that Japan has. So I'm like, okay, that's acceptable at least. And then Rei and Amy are the same. But then there's the other one, Sailor Jupiter and Sailor Venus. And I think in Japanese their names are Makoto and what's the other one? I don't remember.
I don't even remember right now.
The Japanese names, okay? But in Spanish it's like Patricia and Carola, and it's like two of these things are not like the others.
No, our Usagi is Serena. So
Yeah,
I grew up with her being Serena, and then so then I was like Usagi, what?
and then the Tuxedo Mask, his name in Spanish is Armando, which is like, that sounds like a soap opera name.
I kind of love it though.
Yeah.
I feel like that suits him. I feel like he looks like he could be an Armando.
Yeah, it's like it fits him. I like, but it sounds like a soap opera name. But this is but with the whole 90s thing of Sailor Moon, it's like it fit, you know.
Yeah.
But then I learned that his Japanese name was Mamoru, and it's like that. It doesn't sound as good to me.
Well, not when you got Armando. I mean.
Yeah, well. But I think clips from the English dub of Sailor Moon, and I just think it's hilarious, that dub. I seen that clip of, oh my god, his Tuxedo Mask.
It's very. They change a lot of lines in it. That's one of those ones where they were very liberal with rewriting what was said for the English dub, so they're very different. Like, I've watched it sometimes with the Japanese, like what it would be if it was Japanese translated directly into English with the English dub, and I'm like, that, what? It's such a completely different experience. Like, they really downplay how much Sailor Mars and Usagi fight in the English dub.
Really?
They do.
Like, in Spanish we changed the names, but it's like a couple names, but most of the other things stayed the same. Like, we didn't do like the Power Rangers kind of thing where they changed the music and they put lessons at the end or something. No, it's like the same thing. They didn't do the Americanization thing.
Oh, did they change the gender of that one character in Spain?
Which one was it?
The one who was with. There were the two guys in the first season, and they were together. But in ours, it was a chick because they.
I'm pretty sure they kept him as a man.
No, not for ours.
It has been a while since I watched it, but I'm pretty sure it was still a man. But you know, like, they did it with Digimon too. Like, in Spanish, we just kept the same music and the same kind of thing, but sometimes they change the names, just the names. But everything else stays the same. They still happen in Japan. They still keep weird Japanese things sometimes. Like, I remember as a kid, this confused me a lot in Demon Tamers, okay? There's this part where literally in the dub, the Rika is like, if you call me Rika-chan again, I will kick you. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, what are you talking about? And then I learned about, Japanese from the thing, and I'm like, oh, but that didn't make sense in the dub. What? It was like, it was like so weird in retrospect. I'm like, oh, that did make sense, but it didn't make sense when I was a kid.
I think one of the most annoying dub moments for me is still Pokemon, the Indigo League, where it's one of the later episodes where they're all sitting around eating, and they are clearly eating rice balls.
It's the donuts. The
donuts. Yeah, like, this is a great donut. And I'm like, are kids going to be confused by a rice ball? Like, a rice ball is not that strange of a food.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh, I think we got the anime after it passed through America. So, like, we got the Fox Kids version of it. So, like, we dubbed that. Because they have, like, the same kind of things cut out and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I guess we got that from Fox Kids. From 4Kids or whatever. Because we used to have it in Fox Kids, which it wasn't that in anymore now. But, you know, I used to watch that every day. But, you know, usually they kept with the Japanese things, which is better. I feel bad for American kids who had to endure that horrible host they put in the Digimon dub. Like, why? Like, I have the movie, the Digimon movie.
Yeah.
Because it was released here only after they did the American thing. And you see it after you know, seeing the series with the Japanese things. And it's like, with the American music, and that's weird cuts. And I'm like, I feel so bad for American kids.
That's the one I saw first, so I'm still like so used to it with its bare naked ladies songs and all of its other things.
The only good thing about that Digimon movie is that the host is so 90s. It's like 90s, the music video.
It really is. It's like a time capsule. Even the original theme where it's like the 90s techno.
Yeah, that's the worst one, like the DJ rap. I'm like, I heard it and I was like, I hate this so much.
I kind of love it. Like, I can't listen to the other theme. Like, it's like listening to like the Rock Dragon Ball Z theme for me. I need to listen to it. It's like my childhood in theme form.
With Dragon Ball, we also got the original Japanese score and things. So when I remember the first time I heard the American music for Dragon Ball. That you know that. It was when they played the Legacy of Goku video game because they had the American music, and I was like, oh, that music is cool for a video game. And then I learned it was in the actual series, and I was like, that doesn't fit for the series. So it was weird because I was like, in my mind, it was like, oh, the Legacy of Goku music, the video game music, and then I was like, oh, they actually put it there. That's not.
No, it's so interesting because I feel like people don't realize that these things end up being changed because so many little things end up changing depending upon where you are, and they affect how you consume stuff. And I feel like it's conversations worth having, but I find that a lot of times people just assume that the American version is the only version, and that's like, it's not the case. So, like, you see it sometimes with things like the Kingsman, where like each country, like a lot of countries had a very different cut of that movie. So it's like, that was fascinating to me. Like, some people didn't have the church scene, some people didn't have the ending, some people had the whole thing like us. It was really interesting.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like some places they cut the church scene out. Like, there's just no church massacre.
That was the best scene. And that was the most with the curse words. Like, Americans have such a thing for bad words. And it's like, Spanish people, we just say bad words like it's nothing. Like, especially one that really comes out to me is the word damn. Apparently the word damn is a curse word. I was like, that's like saying fools here.
Yeah, no, they censor it sometimes. So then sometimes you have things that are really intensely censored. And here, because we're, like, Canada's in this interesting position where, like, culturally, like, we're kind of British, but also a lot American because we're so close to them.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you'll be in a censorship situation, you'll be sitting, like, with a word like damn, where it's like, well, most people don't care, but some people care. And so you're just trapped, like, do I censor the word damn or not? And then you're just sitting there for a long time trying to figure it out, whether you need to censor it or not.
Yeah, but like here, that the translation is like that's not a curse word. That's like old-timey villain saying fools. Like I curse you for whatever reason. Like, it sounds like that to me. So I'm like, how is that a curse word? Like I remember, there's this Spanish, comedian. He does stand-up, and he usually does a lot of things comparing Americans to Spanish people, like Americans from the movies,
Yeah.
not real Americans from the movies. And I remember, like one of the best ones was when he was talking about, like, he was like, imagine the ending of a Vietnam kind of movie where they kill a person, and the guy is like, no, curse you, and he's like, guy, they just killed your friend. Like, if it was a Spanish person, that guy would have endured so many insults and curse words, and that. It's like, it's true, he would have. It's like, it's true. They would have, because like it's so bland in comparison. It's so weird. I don't know why we're just like that. Like I blame. Also, with nudity, we're very liberal usually. Like, I blame that, Spain had a dictatorship for like 40 years, and they censored everything. Everything was censored. And then when it ended, everyone went crazy. And they went a bit too much in the other way, and there were tits everywhere. And it's like, I haven't seen a single Spanish film where I haven't seen boobs. It's like every time. Every time there's boobs, and I'm like, did I need to see that? I don't know. But they are there.
We have such a fear of boobs over here. Like, there's so much strategic boob coverage that it adds like this almost mystical element to breasts that doesn't need to exist. And like, breasts are breasts. They can be sexual, they cannot be sexual. Like, you could actually have a shot of a naked woman that is not sexual. Like, over here, like, I know that's like a weird concept, but you can. And so, like, you have, like, I was watching Altered Carbon, and two of the characters have sex, and then they have this shot where it's like perfectly framed, so like his arm is covering her breast and her butt is covering his I'm just like, look,
yeah,
you know how much you
those
had
sheets that had L form.
Yeah, it's like, you know how much arrangement that took? Like, who is that precise after they have sex? Like, forget it. And that's what's really funny too, is that sometimes you'll have like a really graphic scene before, like everything's simulated. Like, it's almost a porno film except without any actual penetration, and then it's like, no, we don't show anything though. Don't, like, we can't
Just
show
in
any
case.
nakedness though.
Yeah, it's a bit weird when they do that. Like, I mean, I don't like it when there's too much naked people either. Like, when I see the first few seasons of Game of Thrones, for example, where there's like random sex, and it's like, I didn't need to see that. I could have lived without seeing that. Like, that scene where those two ladies were having sex while Littlefinger was saying something, I was like, was this necessary? Like, really, was it?
It's necessary to prove that you're watching HBO. How else would you know?
I didn't even watch it in HBO. I mean, we have HBO now, but when I got into Game of Thrones, they were already like in the third or fourth season, so they were already like taming that down. And I was like much thankful for it.
I have no problem with nudity or anything, but I always like nudity to have a purpose. Like, it's period accurate, it's part of the story, it's part of what's happening in the scene. It's not just gratuitous, like
so far Fanservice is fine, but usually it's always for men. It's like women randomly are naked.
Yeah, and I want equal, especially when I'm watching something like HBO, like, because I'm like, look, I saw Oz, and Oz, there were naked men everywhere, and that was the same network, and I'm like, you know what? If we're gonna have naked women, I want naked men. I just,
I love every time there's a scene in anything, when there's like a male character like without a shirt, I'm like, perfect, that's all I needed. The shirtless scene, that's great. And when there's I love, like, in anime and stuff, when there's the walking shirtless scene character that like never wears a shirt.
Yes.
Like coming up from Gurren Lagann, it's like, I don't need a shirt. What for? And like, one I really like is Liquid Snake from Metal Gear, because that game takes place in like, I don't know if it's Alaska or something like that, like someplace very cold, but he's shirtless. It's like, why need a shirt? And then he appears like as a kid and in another game, and it's in Africa or something, but it's also still no shirt. It's like, he's never worn a shirt, this man. I don't know. It's like, I'm okay with this. or Dante from Devil May Cry, who has he has a costume where he's just Sardes. It's like, yes, that's how you do the fan service equal opportunity. Bravo, Capcom, bravo.
That's the thing with fan service, because we're entering an interesting era of it where they're trying to change it because
they realize women also exist.
They do, but at the same time, they're trying to decrease the amount of like fan service that's like, you know, boobs and all that stuff. They're trying to decrease that, but increase men, and so then it's just like we're tearing again, but the other way. And I'm like, we need to figure out how we feel about fan service. I'm like, we either need to decide that some of it is okay and we need to apply it sparingly and properly and not be ridiculous with it and, like, you know, put it for everybody so everybody can have some fan service, or we need to decide that it's not okay and we don't like it and nobody is getting fan service, because I don't want to see the pendulum swing the other way where it's just naked Nightwing everywhere and all the women are covered up versus like Starfire in bikinis and all the men were covered up. I'm like, I just want, if we're going to decide what we're doing. We need to decide how we're going to do this.
Yeah. I like the series 3, because that was the swimming anime, if you don't remember. Like, that was the moment everything changed suddenly. It was like, suddenly there's a lot more fan service in the world for women, and I was like, yeah. And that series was great, but like, you know, it's a fan service show. It's like, it's made for it.
That's the thing, is like, when you know something is fan service, you know what you're getting into, it's like, that's what it is, and if it's not something you like, then kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's how I view it, because like some people come at fan service so hard, but then they'll leave other things alone. So I just feel that when people come at things, I just want them to come at them equally. I'm like, no hypocrisy here. Either we don't like something or we like it. Like, let's figure it out.
Like, I like when they do fan service. Like, it's cute. Like sometimes, you know, the references kind of fan service, you know, that other kind of fan service. I like that too. Mm-hmm. Like, some people really hate it. Like when they do a new version or something and they reference a previous one, and people get pissed off sometimes, and I'm like, that was kinda cute.
Yeah, it depends how you do it. Like, I know what you mean, like the nods to like the original and stuff like that, like peeked in. Like, it's so hard to do that because, like you said, some people just mentioning it makes them mad, and then other people, if you don't, then they get mad, and then you're just in this awkward position of, well, how do I acknowledge this thing that came before and try and make people happy with this? It's like, it's complicated. Like, creating things is so complicated and difficult. And I feel like that must be such an added level of stress going into something knowing that you're probably gonna get backlash for it, like just going in braced. You know, it's okay to see a promo or a still or an image and be a bit wary, like kind of like, I don't know. But to completely prejudge, which I see happening all the time, is just so tiring. Like, either whether it's for or against, because it happens both ways. Like, sometimes people see something like, this is going to be amazing, or this is going to be terrible, and I'm sitting there like, you don't know, you haven't seen it, you have no idea how it's going to be. I just like people to give things a chance. It's to the point now where our promotion machines, I feel, are out of control, where we're just getting so many teasers, so much stuff so far in advance that you have this entire culture of people who are already prejudged a thing going into it, and then they come out not having given it a fair chance, but rather having picked through looking for evidence that supports their prejudgment. And I just feel that's really unfair. And like, briefly, like circling back to DC, I feel like that happens a lot with DC versus Marvel. Like, people expect Marvel to be great and they expect DC to be terrible, and a lot of them, they go in with that attitude, and that really affects how they see it and how they report on it. I'm just like, you know what, just go in, decompress, take everything as it is, and go in and form like a fresh opinion on something.
You know, that's why I don't like watching a lot of trailers for movies. Like, I don't watch trailers for movies unless I'm in the cinema and they put it, because, you know, you can't really avoid that. Or like, it's a movie that I'm super looking forward to. And then, like the Ready Player One, I watched the trailer because, you know, I was excited for it. But usually I don't go out of my way to watch a trailer because I don't want to go with expectations to a thing. And I don't know why, but I do it mostly with movies. Like, with video games, I don't do it as much. Like today there was a Kingdom Hearts trailer, and I was like, give me the trailer. I need to see it. I need to see that it's a real game.
I feel like it's different with games because you know that you're going to play it, and so that's going to affect the outcome. It's going to be different because you're going to be the one playing it, and that will change your experience. Whereas with the movie's going to be what it's going to be. And especially with a lot of trailers, they reveal a lot. And it's funny because people have been complaining about that recently. They've been like, the trailers, they're too long, they're saying too much, and they show the whole movie. But then the Venom trailer came out, and people were like, it was too short, it didn't show enough.
It didn't show anything. I think, like, because I've just watched the Kingdom Hearts trailer and all, I'm still a bit in hype about it.
Yeah.
I think those trailers for Kingdom Hearts, they are doing it perfectly. They're like, we're showing you a lot of gameplay and a lot of cool stuff, and then we'll show you like a couple of characters that are going to appear that are like really cool characters we've been looking forward to, but like a small scene. Just like a couple of lines of them talking, and I'm like, yeah, perfect. That's all I wanted. That's all I need. I'm gonna buy this game anyway.
Yeah.
I've been waiting like what, 10 years, more than that for it.
I'm personally in the camp of I feel that trailers should show less. I'm always a fan of that. I'm like, I don't want to go into a movie knowing every twist, knowing everything that's going to happen. And I also am not a fan of when they film scenes that are in the trailer but not the movie.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot lately.
I feel like it's almost their way to try and avoid and be like, look, see, we didn't show you everything. These things weren't even in the movie.
Fair enough. You got it, Tyler Baker.
And then you have, like, I've seen this new phenomenon where there are articles that pop up after a movie's release that are, like, things that were in the trailer but not the movie. And I'm like, this shouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. That happened a lot with the latest Star Wars ones. Like the Rogue one where the trailer was, like, completely different from the movie or something. I didn't even watch that trailer, so I was like, I just went into the movie, so I didn't have that, that experience of being laid down. And I'm like, that I got for me.
And a lot of things too, like because lots of trailers are cut so early that some scenes do end up hitting the cutting room floor, like they just end up being deleted. Maybe they end up on like the Blu-ray edition as encouragement to get people to actually buy it. But again, that would be solved if you didn't have to cut the trailer so early, because I've seen some trailers where even the effects don't seem like they're fully through the processor as of yet because we're releasing them so early. I'm like, just wait, like people are still going to come. You don't need to release your trailer like 8 months in advance of your actual movie. We'll be okay. We'll still watch it.
Yeah. Like, they're releasing a lot of things. Like, I think that Venom trailer, they released it for the Super Bowl or whatever, right? Because there's like because your big thing is that they put a lot of commercials in it for some reason.
Oh yeah,
that's
the
a weird
Super Bowl
event.
Commercial industry is huge. Like it's millions to get your trailer into the Super Bowl.
That's so weird. I like Americans. Weird.
Do you guys like up here? We actually have a culture where people go and watch the Super Bowl for the trailers. Like even though we don't even really care about American football, but we watch it for the trailers. Like it's actually like a trailer culture. People go to bars to watch the Super Bowl so they get the Super Bowl commercials.
I don't know. The big European event for me, at least, is the Eurovision, and that's a whole other thing. Eurovision is amazing if you have never seen it. It's the best. It's so stupid, but it's incredible. And every time it happens, all the Americans are like, what's happening? Why is this not about me?
Well, it's kind of like how over here, like, no one cares about soccer. I care about soccer a lot. So anytime soccer, I'm like, yes, it's soccer season. And over here, it's like, no one cares. And I'm like, oh.
Everyone cares about football here, child. Don't worry. You have all of Europe with you.
We have such a bad team. Okay, that's not true. Our male team is bad. Our female team is really good, but our male team is really bad.
Like, I don't care about sports because I'm like that, but the only sports I care about are sports anime. Like, that's very... I remember when I started watching Haikyuu, I didn't even know how volleyball worked. And I was like, but I heard this anime is good, so I'll watch it. And I was like, I care so much about volleyball! Sports anime hits you super hard with those feelings.
There are some sports I care about, but it's really random, and there are certain sports that are better to watch live. Like, watching baseball on TV, in my opinion, is incredibly boring, but I actually like watching it live a lot. And I like watching soccer live, tennis live, Curling is more interesting than people think. People need to give curling a chance.
The only thing I know about curling is that the Norway Olympic team has amazing pants.
Curling's fun. I've actually curled, and it takes a lot of skill. People don't know.
That's so Canadian of you, I must say. One of the few things I know about Canada. They like hockey and they like curling.
Well, that's the one way I'm not typical. I couldn't care less about hockey. I'm a bad Canadian.
Oh.
I'm a failed Canadian liking soccer, not liking hockey. What am I doing with myself?
You know, Spain the big sport is football or soccer if you want to be American about it. But you know, I want to call things what they are, so I call it football.
It makes more sense, honestly. Because you kick it with your foot. I don't understand why the other one is called football. I really don't.
You know what? In Spanish, we are so stupid about things because we got football from England. Like when there was like the industrialization era, a lot of English people came to like the north of Spain because we had a lot of coal. So they came and they bring football with them, okay? But since Spanish people and English really don't mix, because it's like bad. We don't know English at all. We took the word football and we just translated it, and it's like in Spanish football is football, but like Spanish spelled. It's like so weird. We're so lazy about it. There's also like I think I'm not sure which one it is, but the province next to the one I live in, okay? Their football club is called Athletic. It's called that, it's Athletic. And like I remember that the scream to cheer them up is Oliron, which is all iron, but really like spoken as a Spanish person would, because we are bad with English. Basically, like there used to be mines and stuff, and when they found like the mines were all iron, okay, that was good because they gave you extra money to the people that work there. So they started screaming that at the football matches. But since we're Spanish, instead of saying all iron as it should be, you say alirón, and it's become that thing.
Well, that's interesting.
And then there's like I know English and I'm weird about it. Because like only if you're like very nerdy, usually you learn English very quick, because there's a lot of video games and TV series and stuff that are only in English, so you gotta learn it or you can't play. It's like, well, like all the Persona games in Spanish, like they don't exist in Spanish, they're just in English. That's it. They come with the English test, and that's instant. It's just that it doesn't get translated because it's too much. So but it's annoying when in Spanish they change things. Like I have a huge pet peeve of mine is when in Final Fantasy games they change names, the written form of names of characters. And the big one is Sephiroth, okay? You know, his name usually is Sephiroth, like with a PH.
Yes.
Well, in the Spanish translation of Final Fantasy VII, which was terrible, because it was like taking the English translation, which is already bad, and translating it literally, like they put it through Google Translate or something, and then badly written. And the name of Sephiroth was written with an F and without an H at the end. And it drives me mad. Every time I see it, I'm like, no. And the worst part is they had corrected it. Like in Kingdom Hearts and other games, they wrote Sephiroth with PH.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, now we're writing it good because, you know, we're good people. And now we're going back to Sephiroth. I'm like, what? Why? Why would you do this to me? I know it's stupid, but it drives me insane every time I see it. I'm like, no, that's not how you write his name.
I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was a lot of fun.
Tell me when you put the video up because I want to show other people.
Oh, you know I will. I'll shoot you a message, everything, and send me that link. So.
Yes, I will.
All right. Thank you so much, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Hello! Did you make it to the end? If so, you are troopers. If you made it here, please let me know by telling me what language you most often consume media in, and if you've ever encountered these interesting changes when it comes to translation. As always, thank you so much for watching, or more likely in this case, listening. We have tons more stuff coming up soon, and don't forget to tune in on Tuesdays for the weekly live stream. Next week, it's another Fanversation, and I will see you guys then. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side. Thanks so much for helping me make this increase in videos possible. Don't forget to join me on Tuesdays where we do the live stream, and of course stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.